Welcome to a Road Less Traveled podcast. I'm your host, Hilary Haron, and today we have with us Des Washington. Hi, Des. Thank you
Hilary.
for being here.
Thanks for having me.
So you're an entrepreneur extraordinaire. You've done all the things.
You can say that, and I appreciate it.
So tell us a little bit about what businesses you have right now.
Okay, so right now I have Grumpy Burger Ladies, which is my burger catering business, home of the Smush Burger. And my oldest business is Dee's Craft Experiences, which is a bartending business, which was really thriving during COVID.
Okay,
Now we're just kind of doing private events and keeping it pretty simple on that end. But yeah,
That's good.
I do events. I don't really categorize that as a business, but it takes up so much of my time. I feel like it's an honorable mention.
Yeah.
That I still do a lot of like pop-up events and
Like
and
event management or like events for your companies?
Event production, and it will be for me and for others.
Okay.
So yeah, those I'll stick with those three.
And you're at the Black Metro Chamber too, yeah?
I am. Yeah, my day job is with the Fresno Metro Black Chamber of Commerce, working with other entrepreneurs, helping them get connected to resources that we all desperately need.
That's pretty amazing, especially because I feel like people don't know what they don't know, and they don't know where to go.
Yeah, I didn't know what I didn't know. You know, I definitely wasn't tapping into the resources that something like the Chamber has to offer prior to working there. And then you get there and you're like, I don't know what I don't know.
And you're like, oh my God, all these things.
Yes, all the things. Yeah. And I'm still just like I always joke, a hairdresser with bad hair because it's
Stop.
I still feel like, yo, I still need all of this. I need these classes that I'm literally hosting the panel for. Like,
Well, sometimes you got to remind yourself, right? Like,
heck yes.
I mean, just like we'll jump right into the feelings. Sometimes it gets so discouraging and so isolating to be a business owner, especially if you're a sole proprietor. It feels like you're out on an island by yourself. What is that movie? Is it where he like
Castaway?
Yes, where he draws the faces
With
on
Wilson?
the ball.
Yeah.
And you're like, I don't know what I'm doing anymore. Am I even good at this?
Yeah.
So sometimes you do need the reminder.
Absolutely. And it's very much a blessing for me to be in that space because I think a lot of entrepreneurs also don't have entrepreneurial friends. One thing that I provide technical assistance to people. So that's like one-on-one assistance for your business and usually strategizing and talking about things. But a lot of times it's just like therapy almost. And I tend to forget that most people don't have anyone to talk to about their journey. Their families are like, well, that's crazy. Or do you think that'll sell? Or what about that idea is kind of weird or whatever. They're getting actually a lot of negativity from the people around them oftentimes, even their spouse or, you know, their kids are like, you love your business more than me. So
Oh yeah, that's a real thing.
I try to remind myself that I'm actually really blessed to be surrounded by other entrepreneurs all the time that I can like talk to. And that's why business networking is so important. That's a lot of what we do at the Chamber, creating that community for folks.
And community is so super duper important.
Super important.
Because if we all just kind of did what everybody else did, it would be really super freaking boring.
Yeah.
So how did you get into Grumpy Burger Ladies?
So
The name is just...
You know, I was the Grumpy Burger Lady already before this business existed.
I remember. I actually thought you were a Grumpy Burger Lady at one point.
I definitely am. Me and my dad opened Take 3 Burgers in downtown Fresno in 2014. And we had been a burger family already. My dad also owned a restaurant called Monster Burger in West Fresno in the late 80s and early 90s. And so it's kind of a family business. And I just love burgers. I'm a big theme person.
Yeah.
So if I'm going to dive in, I'm going to dive in deep.
Yeah.
And so like I became the burger lady.
Yeah.
Once I was the burger lady, I was the burger lady.
It was all over.
Yeah. And the grumpy is just true. It's just my personality. It's just So yeah, we closed Take 3 at the end of 2020. We did really great throughout the pandemic. We had a promotion that we called Spreading Burger Joy, and we were taking food to essential workers and people working at hospitals. I pulled up in a fire truck one time.
That's cool.
Like literally a dream. But it got to the end of the year and we were so burnt out. You know, people who worked during the pandemic there was no break.
Yeah.
There was no, like,
they didn't have time to go crazy.
Yeah. So people were like, oh, I'm just stuck in my house. And I'm like, what is that like?
You're like, oh my God, it sounds so cool.
Yeah, sounds wonderful, because I was working the whole time.
Yeah.
I think me and him, and then construction was picking up for him. We
Yeah.
are like a family of serial entrepreneurs. He's been a contractor for 40 years. So construction was picking up, and we were supposed to be closing temporarily, and we just closed permanently.
Family business is hard. I'll say it again. I've come from a family business. The dynamics are hard. My dad and I would go to your dad's restaurant once in a while. And I remember like getting a burger once and looking at my dad and being like, I don't think she likes me. And
God,
him being like, no, she does not care about you. Please sit down. Like, and
It's just me being the grumpy burger lady.
And like that perspective of his like was helpful for me. Like she just really doesn't care. And then, come full circle years later, we connected over, downtown stuff. I was like, oh, it's not me.
No, she's nice. She just really is grumpy. I love that you told that story, because I feel like I really hate how much people are like, oh, you're not grumpy at all. I think for one, like, what do you expect me to do? Be like mugging my customer?
No, you were just working. It had nothing to do with you as much as it did with me.
Well, and I might have, like, I think a lot of times what I describe as grumpy is like, I can't really control my face depending on the moment. Like,
Same.
Yeah.
It just does these weird things and people are like, I can see your feelings.
Yeah, literally me. So, like, I think that me calling myself grumpy was almost to like acknowledge something that I felt existed. Like, because I don't always feel personable and approachable. And I know people think I'm very sociable because I can do it. I'm an artist by trade as well. And so, I have a background in music. You're a performer. You perform.
Yeah. I mean, you do all the freaking things.
Too many damn things.
You do all, that's incredible. First of all, I think any artist or somebody who can create music or beauty from something else, it blows me away.
Thank you.
I have a real hard time like drawing a stick figure. So like my daughter wants to draw all the time and I'm like, let me print out this image so we can color it in just a second.
No, I was literally doing a paint by numbers with my kids the other day.
Oh, I love it.
I had the number one. They were printing on a blank canvas.
Perfect. You're like, here, you guys
also
do that.
not
Don't
that kind of artist.
Okay.
I don't have that skill.
What type of musician? What do you do?
So I sing.
Okay.
Yeah.
That I have heard.
I'm a singer. I guess you could say by trade, because I do still do a show occasionally. I used to be really insecure about having so many trades, doing so many things.
You should own it. Be proud of it.
It wasn't, because I think there's this concept of the jack of all trades, master. Don't worry.
Sorry about the shoulds.
Girl, I work on my shoulds as well. I work on that too. No, but I wasn't. I think it came off like I was a jack of all trades and a master of none, and that actually is a longer quote. Yeah, because over time the jack of all trades does become a master of it, right? Like, and that's what happened. Like, I think like 10 years into doing 30 things, like hardcore, you're like, well, I know all these things now,
right?
You know what I mean? I've been doing all of them for a decade. Yeah, like. And it might not have made sense 10 years ago, but today I have a more streamlined narrative of how it all fits together and how it makes sense.
And like the things that don't fit you fall off, right?
Exactly.
I mean,
exactly.
Or they should fall off, and if they don't fall off, you got to kind of push them off. But
they definitely do, and it's always right, like the juggling and the keeping the plates spinning on the sticks.
So this is my least favorite question, but I ask it almost every time: is how do you do it all? And I don't mean to imply that you do it all and that you have no time for anything else, but how do you manage the things that you do?
I mean, it's a really good question. I will say one thing that I tell people, I'm all about like growing capacity. It's like I don't remember when I got that language around it. But at one point someone said to me, oh, this event, it's like rinse and repeat now. And I was like, oh, I love that. It became like rinse and repeat. Like you get to a place where you did it already. So all of the initial like fear that went into it, so that led to procrastination, that led to not getting the stuff done that you need to get done or whatever. That second time around, it's just not as intimidating. And so that's been kind of how I have grown my capacity to do what I know appears to others to be an asinine amount of work.
Maybe a little bit.
And it is.
But if it brings you joy and it's rewarding for you, then it doesn't matter what it looks like to anybody else.
And I'm also like I learn in life. Like I learn by living.
Yeah.
I'm not a person that someone can like tell stuff, or I have to learn the hard way. I have to bump my head. So that requires me to do all the things. So I think that's also why I've just dabbled so much as it's like, do I like this? Do I like this? Do I? And you get to add it to your repertoire. And like you said, the things that don't work fall off, and the things that do become an asset to, you know what I mean? Like not everybody can sing and make burgers and like,
valid,
you know, and be mixing a cocktail while the burger's on the grill.
Like, look at this third arm that just appeared. Like, I think all the things that you do are super inspirational, and
Thank you.
And you have littles too. And I don't like the word balance. I don't, at least in my experience, feel like there's balance. I have to integrate. How do you manage that with, you know, raising a family? And
I have my two babies and my bonus baby. So I'm a mom of 3, and I don't feel balanced at all, if I'm honest.
Does any parent feel balanced?
I don't think so.
Why are people putting that out
there? Why
there?
did tears like almost start to come right now when I said that? And I was like, calm down.
Yeah.
Listen, that's what we're not doing today. I don't feel balanced. but
it's okay, you're not alone in that feeling.
Yeah, I always feel like that is the thing that remains in the forefront of my mind. I think I'm aware at this stage of my life that I'm a hard worker. I think I don't question anymore whether I'm doing enough work.
Yeah.
That's where the question always is am I doing enough as a mom? Am I doing enough for my household? Like, I have not cooked a single meal this week. I made breakfast once. That's it. And
you're
it's Thursday.
beating me.
Yeah.
Yeah. Right? Like, by a meal and a half, I think. Like,
so, you know, that is like, but then like some weeks I'll wake them up and I have made them a meal and I made them tea. And
you like cooked the actual bacon on the stove. You didn't throw it in the microwave kind of deal.
Mostly I do it in the microwave.
Same.
But yeah, like sometimes I think that's what balance is like, there are just like two extremes. There's like, I have very little right now. And then there's like, I'm doing all of it. We're going to Disneyland tomorrow too. My kids probably are like, this bitch.
But I think what's amazing about that is that you're showing them something different than they're seeing. Society shows us one thing. Media shows us one thing. But if by living something different and being really authentic about it, you're showing them a better way, in my opinion.
Thank you for saying that.
Do you think that they absorb that? Or they're
absolutely.
They're what? In the 10,
my
11?
oldest is 10, turning 11 next month. And then I have 9 and a 5-year-old that'll be 6 in August. And they definitely pick it up. I remember asking Jones, my oldest, when he was like 2, what's the first thing you need to start a business? He goes, a logo. I was like, wait, what? Did my 2-year-old just say like, logo right now?
Okay.
Like, you know, and there are still like many examples of those types of like communication that just blows my mind of how much they're definitely listening. My God, it's crazy. And picking up. And like I've asked them, what's the first thing you need if you're going to start this business? And they're like all telling me all the supplies they're going to need, and shocks the hell out of me. So
I think
they're
it's
clearly
cool.
watching.
I think it's super cool.
Yeah.
I mean, the same way that you probably watched your dad, right?
Yep.
And you're
Exactly.
like, oh, well, he could do it. I could do it.
Yep. I think that's really cool because, I mean, at this point, it would be 3rd generation business ownership, right? And you come from a family of legacy and business. And
Serial
so
entrepreneur
so cool.
on both sides.
There we go. See, so
I didn't stand a chance.
You're doing great, sweetie.
I mean, I started with like a card company where I would fold my papers and I would draw and then I would sell them as like Christmas cards.
So cute.
And my dad actually has it framed with like the first quarter he paid me and our transaction.
I love that.
And that confidence, like, and you talking to your kids about what do you need, like that confidence creates a whole nother generation of business owners or people like living differently, right?
Absolutely right. Because what we're not about to be is a cog in this system. Because this system keeps getting worse.
It's so broken.
It's so broken. And also, hopefully what I'm teaching them is that we have to be a solution to the problems in the system. Me as a Black, queer, female entrepreneur is representation that's needed, is also creating space for how I think things should be done. We shouldn't, as mothers, have to choose between our jobs or mothering. I want to create a space where other moms can come in and they don't have to feel that way. I want to create a space where other people of color can come in and they don't have to feel like I'm going to make less money or I'm not going to be as respected or right. So like, I'm hoping I'm passing that on as well, that they feel like, oh no, we need to be solutions to these problems because there are so many problems.
Well, and like inclusive, right?
Yeah.
Because if you don't see it, how do you even know that it's possible?
Right.
I mean, you know, my background is in the automotive world, very few females, but throughout the course of my career, I was able to pick them out and find them.
Yes.
Like, so our mutual friend, Elena, I didn't even know that she was in the car business until we were both on a plane to Las Vegas. And I was like, you mean there's another woman who's like my age-ish? Because obviously she's younger than I am.
Ish. I know. I always forget that she's younger.
And nobody told me. How dare you?
Yeah.
And I think that holding space or doing it differently at our automotive world here, everybody kind of went to their own corner. So it wasn't super inclusive. We've worked on that to change that so that people can work together. But that like modeling that for the next group is imperative. And I mean, that's where the chambers come in. They've done that for a long time.
Yeah.
For me, apparently it's a novelty. I'm like, oh, look at this is a thing. Who does this? I really honor what you do because you talk about it too. Like you can say it out loud and be like, I'm living this and maybe it was hard for me, but I've held this space and maybe it'll be a little bit easier for the next person.
I do think that's the entertainer in me, and where things that, you know, have come along the journey with me are great because, there are a lot of people that are just like, thank you for your transparency. Thank you for saying the thing. I don't have a problem saying the thing. Me getting on a mic and saying the thing, it's part of what I used to do. Yeah. So it's like, puts me in a perfect position to be able to share. I'm not embarrassed. I think we all need to be talking about these things.
100%.
And so
many people are living them.
Yeah, yes. Like, and then especially I'm doing this technical assistance with all these people and I'm hearing the same things over and over and over again. And it's like, everybody's thinking the same thing, not talking to each other, not having a network and a community that they can go to and rely on. Like, we're really blessed that we have that.
100%.
But like a lot of people don't. Like you said, you found it on an airplane. That's random. Like
I think it is random because you get in your own silo of like trying to get through day to day, right?
Yeah.
Like you're just trying to make ends meet and you only have so much bandwidth. So you either have to create more bandwidth, find something that energizes you more, or you have to be more efficient with your whatever your resources are. And I've been blessed to be able to do that, like to seek out an active, I guess an activist role, which connected me to more people. And I love that. And I think I love what you love about it. I love being like, oh, look at this resource.
Yep.
I can marry, sorry, microphone. I can marry these two things together and look, you can benefit from it and I can step back.
Yes. That is one thing too. I have a heart for the work that I do because even when my business is not where I want it to be and I'm not, like, even though I still don't have my building, I'm so happy to see somebody else get in a building. Even when I'm not, like flourishing, I'm so excited to see other people flourishing. That's inspiration. Like that is, I feel so blessed to be able to be connected to other people's success in that way and to even be able to have a hand in it, that I was able to connect you to something that got you off the ground. Like that is everything to me. Like,
I think that the work is incredible. And I think that, again, when you get into that day to day, like you forget that some of those resources exist. Yeah. And we'll do our best to link all the things in the YouTube. And I keep saying that so that I try to remind myself.
So you remind yourself.
Yeah. Have you had other, obviously than your dad who you worked with, any mentors along the way that were very, that were pivotal in your success?
You know what? I did an interview recently for I got an award, the Passing the Torch Award from the African American Museum locally. And they asked what mentors do you want to shout out? And I loved my answer, so I'm going to share that same one again.
That's perfect. That's called efficiency. We're here for that.
There we go. Check. I was like, the women and the mothers. I specifically said mothers. And I know that that's really broad in general, but what I reflect on the most in terms of mentorship were women who I was watching do it all. You have kids. They were me. Yeah. You have kids. You have this business. I had a boss one of my very first job right out of college was Fresno State. I worked in the vice president for administration office, and the vice president was Cynthia Matson. She was like a boss. Oh my God. This lady, first of all, she was on all the boards, all of them. She was like the president of all the boards.
Inspirational by just existing kind of person.
She at work, everyone was terrified of her, but like in a great way, in the way that you should be terrified of someone because she's so efficient that you know you're not.
That you're not doing the most.
You're not. She would come in on weekends and she would highlight magazine articles and have me send it to all of her AVPs. Send this over to Bob. Have him get back to me for the next meeting. Let him know I want to know what he thinks about this article. Like, how do you have the time? And you got 2 kids, and you're helping taking care of your niece, and you have a house here and in Alaska. You got a husband. What? Like, what?
Right. And if you can do that with your time, what the hell am I doing over here?
Literally. Like, so I'm like a 21-year-old kid that like should not have even been there. And I'm just
you were there. That means you deserve to be there.
But it was crazy, like to even have been part of that staff and to be able to watch her that young. Those are the types of things that still stick out to me. The mothers. And there's probably 10 other people that I could tell you the exact same kind of story that I just was like watching them in awe. Like, how? How do you do this?
Well, you also don't stop being a mom, right? Like whatever you're doing, you still have 2 processes going.
Yes.
You have mom process. I'm still worried. I know that my kids are in good hands. I know that they're safe. I know, but are they?
But at any given time, you can get a call that's like, Brigham busted her face. No,
that's
I'm in
my
a meeting.
son. Finds every freaking surface with his head.
Yep.
Every single one.
Yep.
I want to wrap the kid in bubble wrap.
Literally. And you get that call on your phone from the school or from the daycare and you're just like, oh God, please don't be anything. Please be an automated message.
Right. Please eat like a tummy ache instead. Yeah. Right? Please eat something simple.
Something small.
But you don't stop worrying. And then because that process is just so natural, and for some of us, it starts before motherhood and some after and some it never happens for. But for the most part, we have this other process going. And then we start to mother everybody and every situation. Yeah. Do you have a flip? Can you switch the flip the switch?
You know what? I've been learning boundaries over the past year. Like boundaries has been my key word. I should have put that on this bracelet. Boundaries.
We can go get boundary tattoos. I'm with you.
Boundaries.
Yes. Just put it right here. Back up.
You see this?
Yeah.
Well, literally though, that's been I was in a workshop recently and she said, policies and procedures are what you put in place for business. Boundaries are what you put in place for personal.
That's brilliant.
And I was like, yes. And I'm bad at both.
I get it.
It's just like, because I'm a lover. So like I'm a Cancer. I've been nurturing and mothering people since before I had kids, unfortunately.
I'm a Virgo, so.
Yep, there we go. So I've been learning boundaries though. I've been learning that like, if I don't have them, then I'm a mental case and nobody wants that.
Well, it's hard. Like when everybody comes with a straw, I've said this over and over. You can't pour out of a cup that's empty. So if everybody comes with a straw to your cup and then something comes by and knocks your cup over, you have to have some way to fill your cup back up, right?
Oh,
you got to be able to stand
I
it back
love
up.
the straws to the cup because I've definitely heard the cup analogy, but I've never thought of it in that way. Oh my God, the straws coming into this cup.
You're like back.
I'm like, oh my God, please. From so many different silos and areas and communities, and let alone like my immediate circle and family and who I'm like literally obligated to. Like,
well, and some things you can choose, right? You choose what you give your energy to, and then some things come in and they suck your energy. Like you plug a lamp into a wall and just sucks the energy out, and you're like, how the hell did you do that?
I used to be really bad at recognizing that. I used to be really bad at going, this is sucking my energy and it's not even worthy of the energy it's sucking. I remember talking to another entrepreneur once and being like, I need to get back to this message. And she was like, why? We were like at drinks and she was like, why are you doing that right now? And it was the first time I had ever been like, why am I doing this right now? I'm at drinks with my friends. Why am I responding to a business inquiry? Like I barely set work hours for myself probably over the last couple of years. You will not message me at midnight because you were thinking about a question you had about your business.
And now you are that for someone else. Like what you just said, like now I will take something from that. So you get to pass that on.
Yes.
I think having those people around you is so cool. Like,
so good.
That
was Alex from KLSD. That told me that. Yep. Okay. Because she gave me the shadiest face. She was like, why? I was like, ooh, I needed that check.
Yeah. You're like, okay,
thank you.
But also watch that face. Yeah. Like The thing's a weapon. No.
No, I felt it. I was like, she is right. Why am I answering these messages back right now? Why? Like,
Well, and especially in the role that you're in, you can pass that on, right?
yes. Delegation, dude. That's another thing I've been working on.
Delegation, or even like the wisdom, right?
Oh.
Like, get into your business, do your business. It can be your passion. I see it. Also, you have to re-energize yourself. Like, so how do you re-energize yourself? Don't say you plug yourself into a wall socket.
I wish. God, if that were possible, then I literally would.
I know. Be unstoppable.
I would be like, nobody needs self-care. I got this plug.
Yeah. Leave me alone.
How do I energize myself? That's a really tough one because I'm really still working on carving out things that are mine. You know,
It's hard.
I literally had a meltdown over a chair yesterday. I have a chair in my front yard that I sit in. And that's like, I guess if we were going to be like, what does Des do to re-energize? Just sit in my chair in my front yard. And then like this cat sprayed my chair in my front yard. I had a whole
nerve.
meltdown and just like this orange cat pee. And then as I'm searching for like spray solutions, I'm seeing these like illustrations of pee coming out of like a cat's butt, which made me that much more upset than just like
why?
butt cat spray on my chair. And
Why am I an artist? Why am I visualizing?
I literally cried.
It's your safe space, right? Like,
Yeah,
So
like-
of course I would cry. I would cry too. My cat peed on our beanbag and I almost, we were almost catless.
Yeah, it's come on. Like, I hate to say it, but like questions like that are the ones that are hard for me because there's not a lot. There's not a lot that I have or do. Because there's, obviously we do a ton of things, right? You get your lashes done and you got to get your hair touched up and you got to, none of that's fun. That's
I can
not
take my
stuff
laptop
for
and
me.
my phone to all those things.
Literally. And I work during a pedicure. Like none of this is fun. I mean, I guess snoring in the last chair, I'll give that.
Yeah. Well, because they tape your eyes shut. I mean, that's a thing. That's
So
a total
I
thing.
inevitably fall asleep. So I'll give it that. But like there aren't a lot of things that I do for me, sadly. I try to get out of town as often as possible. That has always been, I've always loved Fresno. I've always loved living in Fresno. I've never been one of those like, I hate Fresno. I can't wait to get out of Fresno people.
I'm with you.
But I think it's because I always realized that like there's so many things you can do around Fresno. I can drive to the mountains in 45 minutes and be away from here, be in a totally different temperature, climate, view. Like, or I can go to LA, I can go to the Bay, like I can be anywhere.
You can go to people, you can go to nature.
Yep.
You can go downtown, you can go uptown.
There's so many options. And so that's part of why I've always loved Fresno is like, you just get away when you need to get away. Like, does it have everything? No. But I get
Does
to
it
create
need everything?
No. And I get to be part of creating the everything, which I think is cool. And when I need to get away, then I get away. So that's a big priority for me.
So with that in mind, what advice would you give little Des? Or even if that one's too hard, then what do you wish little Des knew that you know now?
I wish little Des had patience. I am like barely learning
Big
patience.
Des have patience?
I barely. I'm getting there though. I am realizing where rushing to decisions or response or, or is how it's negatively impacted me. And it has made me more probably skittish, even cautious, kind of like, I know better now.
Yeah.
I wish I could go back in time and teach my younger self to understand. Just sit for a minute. You don't have to say anything.
Enjoy the
do
victory
anything.
or have a little patience before you jump to the decision.
Yes, like in so many ways, patience is such a virtue. It makes your accomplishments sweeter. It makes it easier to deal in hard times when you like just sit, just shh. You don't have to do anything. You don't have to rush to I'm learning that.
I actually hadn't thought about patience that way. And I think that is an imperative piece of advice. Like, I wish people talked about that more. Like in good times, it makes them sweeter. And in hard times, it makes them maybe, I don't want to say easier, but you can deal better with whatever the hard is.
Because when you're patient with yourself too, when something bad happens, you go, okay, well, what's happened like this before that I've already gotten through? And okay, so you can get through this too. Or, it's just like one time someone said to me, like, respond, don't react, because a reaction is something that you do immediately and out of emotion, whereas a response requires thought. And I think of it in that same way, like give it the time to do the thought part. Like the thought part is really important. I used to be very reactive.
Yeah.
And very like right to it. Like,
well, and you give your brain the credit, right? Like, I'm intelligent enough to think this through.
yeah. Yeah. And because I've made a lot of rash decisions when I was young.
We've all made some rash
decisions. It was like, and
but
I
again,
reflect and
you're learning, right? That's how you learn.
I am learning.
I am super grateful for your time and your transparency, and thank you for being here.
Thanks for having me. It's a great conversation.
Do you have a piece of advice that you'd like to share, kind of to wrap us up, about entrepreneurship, being a woman, a Black woman, queer woman, something that will help someone else maybe listening?
I think if I was going to give an all-encompassing piece of advice, I would say make sure you are being the woman that you want other women to be to you, and recognize that somebody else's story isn't necessarily your story. You have no idea what other people are going through. I always try to lead with love in my life in general, but I think that that's very good for me in entrepreneurship because it could be a very cutthroat world and environment. Lots of sharks, right? Lots of people who are happy to take advantage of you.
Well, and people are trying to make ends meet, so they're getting desperate and maybe less.
And I feel like
ethical.
Yep. So I feel like leading with love and being considerate of others is like the advice that I would want to give to others. I think it's been the thing that keeps me going. Is that people know that I'm genuine. They know that like I care.
Yep.
And because I lead with that.
Yes.
And that just makes all the difference in the world, I think, in my business. I think that's like when the little miracles happen and, the doors you didn't expect to open up. And I think that's how that happens. So I would just say
I love that. I think that's a fantastic piece of advice.
Thank you.
Thank you for sharing that with us. We're super lucky to have you as a resource especially in Fresno. And I encourage anybody to, seek you out at the chamber and tap you for advice if they need to.
Thank you.
As long as they do the other things they need to do to get access.
That would actually be another little piece I would like to add. Please do tap into the resources. Everyone. We all need that. We all need that business support. I think a lot of times we get into this and think, I don't need that anymore. I don't need this or that. Again, we don't know what we don't know. And just conversations like this can spark a thought that goes, I'm going to do this thing differently, or I'm going to approach this in a new way. I'm going to think about this in a new way. So get the help too. Everyone needs help.
Right? And there are people that are willing to share. So go get it. If it's there, if you have access to it, DM me or whatever.
No matter what level you're at, we all still need each other. And we need that extra push sometimes, or that little piece of advice or whatever. You don't know what's out there for you. Don't stay in your silo.
Right?
Don't stay in your bubble.
Because the answer is always no if you never ask the question.
There we go.
Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you.
A huge thank you to our incredible guests for sharing their stories, wisdom, and breaking down barriers with us. If you enjoyed today's episode, don't forget to subscribe and leave a review. Your support means the world to me and helps spread the word about the amazing women paving the road less traveled in male-dominated industries. If you have suggestions for a future guest or topic you'd like me to explore, please reach out on social media. I'd love to hear from you. Follow me on your favorite social platform for updates and behind the scenes. Keep pushing boundaries, challenging norms, and lifting each other up.